Witchin' and Winin', the podcast where we uncork some red and raise the dead. I'm your resident wino, Christal.
And I'm your resident witch, Miranda.
Every week I pour a glass of something bold and take you deep into haunted histories, ghost stories, paranormal conspiracies, and the occasional demon drama, all with a little laughter and a lot of wine.
Definitely a lot of wine, but we keep it creepy, cozy, and just skeptical enough to not get possessed on air. Tonight's stories aren't just spooky, they're stamped, filed, and maybe even redacted.
That's because tonight we're taking you deep into the realm of paranormal government conspiracies. Real cases where ghosts weren't just in old mansions, but in city buildings, mill rooms, and top secret files.
Yay! I'm excited.
Me too. You know I love a good haunting, right?
Yeah, like you literally said, I live in a haunted house if it had hardwood floors and a wine fridge, and you literally live there, so...
Exactly. So imagine my horror / fascination when I found this case in the CIA's own reading room, like official documents, stamped, government-approved ghosts.
Okay, wait. You're telling me that the CIA had a file on a haunted house? Like, for real?
Not just any haunted house. This was a full-blown poltergeist case. In Brazil, stones flying inside a closed room, fires starting on their own, and get this, there's a clawed arm involved.
Okay, you said clawed arm? Like, literally, like the creepy things from the movies when they're like, no thank you. Okay, nope, that's me. I'd rather deal with a ghost that just moves my keys around, not freaking, like, rips my flesh.
Noemia, 21 years old, pregnant. Can you imagine going through this crazy thing pregnant? Oh my god.
No! Oh my god. I watched a scary movie once when I was pregnant, and there was a pregnant woman in the movie, and I couldn't. I was scarred. Or my husband was like, we gotta leave.
Well, Noemia is pregnant. She's 21, living with her husband, her baby daughter, and her extended family. And she was attacked in her sleep. And when the haunting hit full force, the CIA actually documented the family's experience and the exorcism that followed.
Okay, so the feds were just like out here ghost hunting with holy oil and bilingual Bibles?
Honestly, kind of. And what's wild is how much of it they took seriously, not just the phenomena, but the cultural and spiritual practices that stopped it.
You know what? Okay, I have to admit, I love this already. Ghosts, government agents, spiritual warfare. So, okay, I'll shut up and I'll stop talking so you can just go ahead and tell us the story.
Okay, so we're starting at the beginning, April 27th, 1973. And I'm so gonna butcher this name. Guarulho? I don't know how to say this. I don't know.
We just spell it Guarulhos. Sao Paulo.
Okay. At that place, Noemia noticed everything first. Strange cuts in furniture. Deep, clean slashes in couch cushions and chair seats. At first, she thought it was rats. Or maybe the upholstery was just old. But then came the money. Cash that disappeared from drawers, only to reappear days later, neatly folded beneath plates or hidden under the baby's crib mattress. And soon, things weren't just disappearing, they were being thrown. The family started to hear strange noises at night. Skittering. Breathing. And on April 30th, Noemia saw something that changed everything. She said she woke up to a presence in the room. She saw an arm, huge, black, with curved claws, lift the edge of her mattress. She reportedly cried out in Portuguese, "The blood of Jesus has power!" as the arm reached for her bed. Her husband jumped awake, but by then the arm was gone.
Why is it always gone? You're just like, oh, everybody's like, you're crazy. You're just pregnant. You're having hallucinations.
Oh my gosh, yes, but you're not crazy. This is happening. The family was terrified. A local pastor was called. He came with his Bible and a small vial of anointing oil. He prayed, he sang, he walked through the home, touching the door frames, calling out to the spirit to leave. The very next day, the family woke to small stones scattered across the kitchen floor. They hadn't been there the night before. The windows were shut. No one had come in. And then it happened again and again. They'd hear the of rocks falling from nowhere, indoors. But after the pastor's blessing, it stopped.
So, like, it actually went quiet?
Exactly. No more shadow arms, no more disappearing money, and for a time, no more rocks. The house was peaceful. But the silence wouldn't last. A few weeks after the blessing, the peace was shattered. The rocks came back. But this time, they didn't fall gently. They struck walls, tables, furniture, and they didn't come from anywhere that made sense. The windows were closed, the doors were locked, but suddenly, in the middle of dinner, a stone would hit the kitchen floor. Another would bounce off the wall behind someone's head. The family tried to brush it off. Maybe a prank, maybe someone sneaking in, but then it got worse. Noemia's clothes started tearing on their own. Ripped fabric, deep slashes that appeared while they were folded in drawers. Her mattress was slashed again and again. One of the baby's bottles was found on top of the wardrobe, standing perfectly upside down, balanced on the tip. No one could explain how it got there, or how it didn't fall.
Honestly, though, how does baby bottle levitation not get you on the phone with the Vatican? Like, if we're being serious, because that right there, like, come on.
Because in Brazil, especially among Pentecostal families like Noemia's, the go-to wasn't the Vatican. It was deliverance prayer, spiritual warfare, and they were about to need it. By September of 1974, the family had reached their limit and decided to move, hoping the haunting would stay behind.
I mean, that is classic haunted house logic, right? Maybe the ghost won't like the new zip code. Maybe it's just tied to the house. It's something to try.
They thought the haunting was tied to the house, but the poltergeist, it moved with them. In the new home, the attacks became more intense and more violent. Small fires began breaking out. Candles left untouched would suddenly burst to life. A box of tools belonging to Noemia's husband caught fire spontaneously, burning all his possession.
Just his.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now that it's starting fires, that's not a ghost, I would say. I would kind of say it was an arsonist with just a little spooky attitude.
More than that, it was selective. The fires never spread beyond certain objects, only personal belongings. And then, one night, the family found something hidden beneath Noemia's bed. A rosemary branch, a butcher knife, and a small brewed broth.
Okay. No, that's interesting. So maybe it's not haunted. That's kind of like, that's cursed. That sounds like a curse. Those are 3 red flags in one graveyard bouquet.
The attacks continued. Objects fell from shelves. The sound of scratching behind the walls kept them awake for nights. Noemia herself began experiencing seizures and dissociative episodes. She would speak in voices that weren't hers, cry without tears, stare into empty corners, say, He's coming back.
That's so creepy. But okay, where does the CIA come in? Because you said it was like a CIA government files. Like, at what point does this become government business?
Enter Hernani Andrade. I'm sorry about my pronunciation. A Brazilian researcher with the Institute of Brazilian Parapsychology. He investigated the family and recorded hours of interviews, photos, written testimony over the next 11 years.
Dang.
Andrade documented the haunting in detail and sent it to American researchers working with the CIA's Stargate project.
Stargate. Wait, the same Stargate that tried to teach people how to remote view enemy bases?
Exactly. This case landed on their radar because it was a perfect test subject for analyzing cultural beliefs versus supernatural claims. The CIA's internal analysis noted that the events seemed to respond to spiritual intervention, not surveillance, not science. Prayer.
The behavioral pattern observed in Guarulhos shows intimate dependence on the family's religious structure. Cultural ritual appears to yield measurable suppression of phenomenon.
Translation: the CIA didn't know what the hell was going on, but when the family prayed, the ghost stopped throwing things.
That is so interesting. So the U.S. government looked at this family getting pelted with the demonic rocks and said, interesting, try more oil and Jesus next time?
Basically. But the activity still wasn't over. The fires, the attacks, the spiritual oppression, all of it kept building until Noemia finally had enough. And what happened next would silence the haunting for good.
Let me guess. One last showdown with the supernatural.
Something like that. And what Noemia saw, what she said to the spirit, might be the most unsettling part of the whole case. Months passed. The family prayed. They saged. They blessed every doorway. But the presence never left. The rocks still came, sometimes days apart, sometimes in volleys. The fires kept starting. Noemia was waking up in cold sweats, speaking in voices that weren't heard.
What I want to know is, how is this woman still standing at this point? I mean, if my toaster caught fire on its own, I'd be in therapy and a convent and just peace.
Because Noemia had reached her limit. Like that time when I was so pissed about the ghost in my house making my girl cry every night.
Yeah, I remember.
I caught it on video twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just lost it on it. And I was like, listen here. I don't know what you are. I don't care. But if you make my kids cry one more time, I will find a way to fucking end you. And I was so mad. I was shaking when I was saying this.
I believe it.
And of course, yes, we still have crazy stuff happen in our house. And when anybody stays the night in our house, weird stuff happens to them. But it never has messed with the girls since then.
Oh, that's good.
So
it took your threat as real.
I mean, I meant it to the depths of my soul when I said it,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the thing about this prayer, you believe so strongly that it's going to work. It adds power to it.
Power, like a tulpa.
Like a what?
Like a tulpa.
What's that?
Like we did an episode on tulpas.
Did we?
Yeah, it's like where a bunch of people believe things, like something so much it like gives power and creates it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that thing. That thing. But according to accounts gathered by Brazilian researcher Hernani Andrade, she made a decision. She was going to confront whatever it was directly.
Just like you did.
Yeah, girl. Get it, girl.
Do it, lady.
That night, after putting her daughter to sleep, she lit a single candle. She sat on the floor of her bedroom, and she began to speak. not to herself, but to the entity she believed had been tormenting them.
I know you're here. I know you've been watching.
The temperature dropped. The air felt heavy, like it had weight. And then, according to her retelling, something appeared in the corner. She described it as tall, shaped like a man, but made of darkness. It didn't move. It only watched. And in her own words, she said she heard a single whispered word, one she couldn't fully understand, but one that felt claimed.
Oh no, so whispering shadows never mean anything good.
She didn't wait for a second word.
Yeah, neither would I.
No. Noemia grabbed a vial of anointing oil left by the family's pastor and poured it in the corner where the figure stood. She shouted a prayer her grandmother taught her and rebuked the spirit. And just like that, it vanished. From that night on, the worst of the activity stopped. Her daughter began sleeping through the night. The rocks stopped. Noemia felt peace for the first time in months. Shortly after, another pastor returned and performed a final house blessing, anointing each room, each doorway, and each family member. And from then on, the terror never came back.
That's one strong mama energy right there, which is good. So, but like, what was it? Was it a ghost, a demon, or a psychic breakdown?
That's exactly what Andrade and later the U.S. researchers analyzing his report tried to understand. In Andrade's final documentation submitted to Brazil's Parapsychology Institute and later cited in U.S. intelligence analysis, he suggested two possible causes. One, a discarnate entity, meaning a spirit. Two, psychokinetic agent, energy produced unconsciously by a person under stress. Either way, the attacks appeared to be stopped by belief-based action, prayer oil ritual. The phenomena responded not to observation or recording equipment, but to cultural rituals rooted in spiritual belief. These elements cannot be ignored in the analysis. So when the CIA studied this report, they didn't make claims about the supernatural, but they did acknowledge the role of belief. In the agency's internal write-up titled The Poltergeist and Cultural Values, the conclusion was clear. What the family believed and how they acted on it had a measurable effect on the activity.
Okay, so prayer and oil is greater than surveillance and gadgets.
In this case, yes. And for Noemia, that belief brought peace. So here's what we're left with. A young woman in Brazil was terrorized by something no one can see. A clawed hand, flying stones, fires that start on their own. A haunting that followed her, not from house to house, but heart to heart. And in the end, it wasn't technology or science or surveillance that stopped it. It was prayer, belief, a bottle of oil, and a woman brave enough to say, I know you're here, and I am not afraid of you anymore.
Do it, lady. That's right.
Yeah, girl. Get it. The CIA's analysis doesn't tell us whether it was a ghost or a demon or a psychic trauma, but it does admit that what we believe, how we act on it, can shape our very reality. And that's powerful.
I mean, yeah, honestly, the energy that we emit is, I believe, the most powerful thing. You know, even our brains, like whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Well, for the most part. But anyway, so basically.
It's why all these different religions, including Wicca and everything else, all have power behind them because there's so much
energy.
There's so much belief you put behind it.
Yeah.
If you have enough faith and belief in what you're doing, to be powerful, it will be.
Yeah.
You're guiding that energy to where you want it to go.
Manifestation, baby.
Took the word right out of my mouth, girl.
But back to the CIA. Basically, the CIA investigated a haunting and came back saying, yep, sometimes grandma's prayers work better than a satellite.
Exactly. And they never officially closed the case. They just filed it quietly, like they do.
Yeah, like they do.
Lucky for us, that file is now wide open, and the deeper you dig, the weirder it gets. It gets crazier, y'all.
Yeah, it gets crazy, y'all.
Tonight, Miranda's taken over the mic for part 2 of this haunted night. And she's got 2 more cases just as chilling and just as real.
Yeah, 2 more. I'm excited. So, guys, pour a glass, light a candle, and follow me into the shadows of bureaucracy. In early 1959, agents at a mid-Atlantic FBI field office began filing internal observations. Of what, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. These weren't formal case files. They were casual reports, memos between staff, notes, scribbled in margins, that sort of thing. And while most of the documents from that time are either redacted or missing, these researchers have pieced together multiple references to these following interesting tidbits. One, a tall figure seen lingering near the records room. Another, reports of footsteps in empty hallways, the usual. And a third, an unexplained cold spot in one particular office. Some of the summaries mention a gray overcoat and disappearance into the wall where no doors existed. Other report mentions a staffer requesting clarification about possible security testing, though no such program was even on the books. See, these aren't direct quotes, but composite reconstructions drawn from multiple FBI vault documents and witness testimony later collected by researchers. A week after the most detailed report, a technician team was sent to the building. Their purpose? It was kind of unclear. Their findings, of course, guess what? They were redacted. They took readings, and they left with no explanation. So, by the spring of 1960, the tone had shifted. The agents were requesting transfers. Others refused to stay past 5 p.m., which, if you know, is kind of unusual. To be honest, we have a terrible workaholic culture in our society.
Absolutely.
So,
in America.
Honestly, maybe the ghost or whatever it was here was like, dude, get home. You need to go home and see the family.
For real, there are countries where they actually have nap times. For
Oh
everybody.
gosh, I wish. Anyway, one intern reported hearing.
Hold up.
Oh,
Everybody that's listening, manifest that shit for America.
please.
Nap times
I mean-
for everyone.
Nap times and paid and provided snacks.
Yes.
Mood
Go on.
lighting. So one intern reported hearing someone call her name every day for a week. A senior agent, whose name was redacted, began sleeping in his car, and then files began to disappear, like entire case folders, sealed, logged, locked in cabinets, gone, without a trace, nothing. Sometimes they'd reappear days later, but in the wrong room, or they were already open. A request was submitted for additional security, because they were like, well, let's get to the logical or like one that might make the most sense solution here. It's someone's breaking in, right? So they wanted more security. But the office manager wrote something chilling in the margin of that request.
No evidence of forced entry. This is happening from the inside.
Whatever haunted that field office wasn't just footsteps and shadows anymore. It was something intelligent. It was watching, waiting, rearranging reality just enough to make agents question their own minds. In one internal memo, reconstructed from witness reports, of course, the field office described A, a tall figure seen in a gray coat. B, well, hold on. I don't know why I'm saying this like a multiple choice. This is just all that they saw. The first thing.
Who's your teacher?
Right. First, a tall figure seen in a gray coat. 2, the temperature in one room dropping dramatically. And the last one, no logical entry point where the figure was observed. This isn't a quoted letter. It's a composite built from real memos collected in the vault. Just keep that in mind. So, here we are in the spring of 1960. By now, the whispers weren't just late-night rumors. They were showing up in internal requests and complaints and what one memo called personnel sensitivity. There was a pattern forming. Agents reporting the same shadowy figure always in the back hallway. Sudden nausea or dizziness near a specific stairwell. The undeniable feeling of being watched from inside locked rooms. One agent kept a private log of the disturbances in his daily planner. It's not quite official documentation, but later interviews reference it, okay? So here's a reconstructed summary from those accounts.
April 3rd, heard boots on stairwell again, 9:12 p.m. Went to check, empty. April 5th, lights flickered. Saw movement in office 3C, door was locked. April 7th, cold spot in records. Lasted 5 minutes. Smelled like pipe smoke. April 8th, woke from desk nap. Files I didn't open were stacked in front of me. No memory of getting up.
Agents stopped laughing about it because it started getting really weird. At first it's like, haha, how funny. Now it's like, it's like, what is it? Not funny, haha, funny. Yeah. One senior staffer put in a transfer request citing, quote, mental exhaustion due to the building's environment. Another, his name was fully redacted, was quietly placed on leave after claiming the walls speak when no one's around. The phrase kept coming up in personal statements.
The walls speak.
Something's alive in the file room.
He watches from the mirror.
With no official acknowledgement from HQ, the agents took matters into their own hands. There's no formal record of this in FBI documentation, but several sources included retired clerical staff and building janitors interviewed in the early 2000s told the same story. One weekend, 3 agents returned to the office after hours. They brought a Bible, anointing oil, and a bottle of scotch.
Oh, yeah.
They probably needed like some liquid courage,
There's probably some like real reason for it, but we're just like, oh yeah.
They walked from room to room praying. They recited Psalm 91, and they poured a few drops of oil in each doorway. They called it spring cleaning.
Oh, I guess not. I guess the scotch was just for them.
It was for bravery.
Okay. If you're doing unofficial exorcisms on government time, you deserve hazard pay and a raise.
Right? Yeah. Also, the fact that everyone tells the same story, oil, prayer, Bible, means they all remembered it for a reason.
And probably didn't put it in writing because they didn't want the Bureau thinking they were one rock short of a gravel driveway.
I know, like, God forbid. So, that spring, reports stopped for about 2 months. Then, new complaints emerged, but this time the activity was different. Shadows appeared behind people in ID badge photos. Now that's really creepy. Office plants were withering overnight, like just sucking out their energy, and recorded phone calls capturing distant whispers. One now declassified line item, a note from a building supervisor reads,
"Employee morale low. Maintenance refuses to enter south stairwell."
When asked why, one custodian allegedly replied,
"Because something waits in that stairwell, and it doesn't like to be watched."
It likes to do the watching.
It's a voyeur.
It is. It's a naughty little ghost.
And then, as quickly as it escalated, it faded. Some staff were rotated out, the field office underwent a renovation, and the south stairwell, well, it was bricked off with no explanation given.
Oh, we're just bricking this stairwell off for no
reason. It has nothing to do with the creepiness that happened.
Nothing you're reporting is real. We're just bricking it off for fun, see?
You remember nothing. But even decades later, new agents assigned to that office who had no knowledge of its history described strange feelings in the back rooms. The words they used? Cold, watched, and wrong. So by late 1960, something strange began to happen in the records themselves. We aren't talking about hauntings now. We're talking about literal paper trails, or the lack of them. Researchers trying to piece together what really happened at this field office hit the same wall again and again. Files were missing. Case folders referenced internal logs simply vanished. Even staff rosters from certain weeks were redacted, entire pages blacked out or replaced with blanks. One of the most bizarre cases involves a personnel file. Agent Harold R. Mallon, listed as employed from 1956 to 1961, but every document that mentions him, gone. Gone. He just didn't exist there at all. All that remains is a single carbon-copied envelope bearing his name, found misfiled in a box labeled Building Maintenance 1973. Inside? Nada. Nothing. Former clerks claimed they remembered Mallon clearly.
He worked the late shifts, always wore his badge on the wrong side, said he liked the quiet.
But there are no photos. No employment termination form, no record of reassignment, like he just disappeared.
Like how the government always makes people just disappear.
And the kicker? Multiple reports of strange hallway activity from 1959 to 1960 describe a man in a, quote, gray or olive, slightly outdated uniform style walking the corridors alone. And when shown sketches based on the descriptions, former employees pointed to a mock-up and said,
"That looks like Mallon."
So here's where things get murky. In a 1978 FOIA release, researchers discovered references to this haunting case buried in documents about unrelated matters, like internal memos on office renovations, janitorial budgets, and even light bulb procurement. In one of them, a handwritten note in the margin says,
"Request for lighting changes denied. Cause, environmental anomalies tied to archive corner."
That was the same corner where most disturbances were reported and where Mallon was last seen working. And just like that, it all went quiet again. Over the next 20 years, reports of similar events cropped up in other federal buildings. An IRS office in Kentucky, doors were slamming, cold spots, a figure in black. A Social Security center in Arizona, well, phone lines picking up whispers at night. An old military archive in Oregon, a worker claimed she saw someone step through the wall. And here's where it gets weird, y'all. In each of those sites, anonymous notes surfaced in local logs, written in nearly identical handwriting, using the same 3 words. He is here.
So is the ghost writing these notes?
Maybe.
And that's why the handwriting's the same, because it's the ghost's handwriting?
I mean, that would make sense.
What does handwriting look like? Okay. Anyways, either this is one very busy ghost with frequent flyer miles, or
someone or something is following the paper, not the people.
Oof, that's a whole new level of creepy. Ghosts that haunt documents. That's so on brand for the government.
Because everything's document. So, when the field office underwent a second renovation in 1981, no paranormal incidents were recorded again. But records from that decade are spotty. There's pages missing, names disappear. It's as if the case, folded in on itself. But the only consistent detail was that gray-coated man, seen again, this time in 1993, in the same hallway, same turn, same wall, and still no door. So what do you do when your building has a ghost and your agency won't talk about it? The case should have been closed. The building had been renovated twice. The original agents retired or reassigned. The strange reports, mostly gone. But there was one final incident, one last file. And it didn't go through the usual channels.
To whom it may concern, this will be my final correspondence, as I no longer feel safe in this office. I have complied with all procedures. I have logged hours and reports. I have followed every directive. But I will not continue to work in a place where the shadows are more consistent than the leadership. There is something here, and it watches. Signed, Agent WW.
That letter was left on the desk of the section chief on November 3rd, 1993. Agent WW never returned. His name was scrubbed from the directory by the following week. And when investigators attempted to follow up, they found no forwarding address. A week later, a member of the building's night security team submitted a VHS tape. It was recorded the night before Agent WW left. At 3:07 a.m., the camera facing the main hallway caught a figure, tall, male, appearing from inside the archive wall. He doesn't walk into frame. He steps out, stops, looks directly at the camera, and then the tape ends abruptly, as if someone cut the power. And that was the final known report tied to the haunting. The camera was replaced, the archive wall was reinforced, and the tape? Lost during a building move in 2001. Was it all just cold drafts and collective burnout? Or were there something else living in those long halls? Something that fed on repetition, routine, and silence? If ghosts are echoes, then this one echoed through decades, changing names, skipping across agency memos, hiding behind redactions and fluorescent lights. Whatever it was persistent, and smart, and watching.
Okay, so we've had haunted houses, haunted objects, but haunted bureaucracy? That's a new flavor of spooky.
And it's kind of way harder to get rid of. Like, you can't just sage a filing cabinet and call it a day. I mean, you can try. I mean, honestly, maybe you can.
You can, but HR gets weird about it.
And they might think you're smoking something you're not supposed to. So what do we do with stories like this? Ones that have no villain and no solution, with just paper trails and shadows.
We tell the stories. We keep them alive. Because the scariest ghosts are the ones hiding in plain sight.
This have been Echoes in the Bureau, based on reconstructed memos, witness accounts, and real files from the FBI vault.
Coming up next, Package from the Void, the haunted mailroom incident. And yes, it's just as weird as it sounds, and I can promise you, from the last story to this next one, it gets crazier, y'all.
It gets crazy, y'all. So stay tuned, stay curious, and stay creepy.
And don't trust the filing cabinet.
Package from the Void. So you know the FBI receives tens of thousands of parcels each year. There's evidence, correspondences, subpoenas, and subpoenas wrapped in more subpoenas. But this one was different. Frankie Delgado, 12-year vet of the agency's logistic divisions, documented the incident in his daily log. While the original entry is missing, a copy remains in an archival summary.
10/16/77, small brown parcel appeared on belt 3. No inbound scan, no documentation, box was warm to the touch. When I tried to pick it up, it shifted left. Box fell off conveyor on second attempt. Refused to process, alerted Supervisor Lang, placed parcel in locker 9 for review.
Could you imagine trying to pick up not only a parcel that's hot to the touch, like WTF, but also every single time you try and reach for it, it moves away from your hand?
That's like a nope situation.
That is a big nope.
It's like, okay, I'll just let you be. Turn around, mind my business.
Yeah,
continue.
You go on and you moved where you want to be, little bitch.
Yep. Like, I won't bug you. You do you. So over the next 3 days after that, the mailroom experienced some interesting things. So First thing, technicians reported headaches and nosebleeds only near locker 9. And the locker was vibrating slightly. Even when unplugged from the electronic lock system, it was still vibrating. And most disturbing, everyone who touched the parcel reported a deep chill, followed by nausea and anxiety. One agent described it as
like being watched by something that wasn't in the room, but very much in my head.
By day 4, no one would go near it, and still, no label, no sender, no contents listed, just a sealed brown box, roughly 6 inches wide. According to recovered statements, a supervisor suggested sending it to Quantico, but Frankie had another idea, the smart cookie. Frankie Delgado wasn't one to spook easy. He processed anthrax threats, suspect devices, even fan mail from conspiracy theorists, but he refused to be left alone with that box. So he called Maria Estrella, a church friend, a healer, the kind of woman who brought oil in one hand and rosary beads in the other. She came to the office that evening after hours, and when she opened locker 9, she gasped and stepped back.
It wasn't just a feeling, it was a presence. It didn't want to be seen. It was hiding, but watching me back. I took out my rosary. I started the prayer. Then it growled.
Frankie, watching from the door, said the air in the room turned thick. It was like walking into a steam room full of anger. And the locker began to shake. The light above flickered violently, and the package slid forward, hitting the locker door without being touched. Building maintenance records show that at 7:44 p.m., all non-essential power on the lower level cut off. There was no surge, no explanation. And for 17 minutes, locker 9 glowed faintly in the dark. Witnesses said they saw a reddish hue, like a dying ember, and heard what sounded like chanting in reverse. Oh, like, again, I can't even, I'm out. I'm gonna quit my job at that point. You think security footage, right? It's gotta be.
I'm gonna retire early.
Yeah, the security footage just had a black screen. And then they heard a hiss, and then it cut out. Maria left without finishing the blessing.
Yeah, girl, get your butt out of there.
Yeah, she refused to speak about it again, but she left one sentence behind, and it was scribbled on the back of Frankie's personnel memo.
Don't bury it. Don't burn it. Don't open it.
Okay, but what option is left? Return to sender?
Honestly, I just eat that thing into the ocean and let Poseidon deal with it.
And imagine being Maria. You show up thinking it's gonna be some petty poltergeist, and then the parcel straight up growl.
Yeah, I mean, or we can just frame it in a box, put it in a glass box, cover it in a glass box, and just leave it there and build everything else around it. Like
those haunted museums where they put the dolls and stuff in the glass cases.
Exactly, yeah. You don't have to touch it, you just, yeah. But the morning after she left, the next morning, locker 9 was sealed shut. Also, an official memo was issued banning unauthorized access due to electromagnetic interference concerns. Literally, an official memo was hey guys, don't go near that. And the box remained inside. So that same week, 4 mailroom employees called in sick, each complaining of migraines and, quote, feeling watched. And Frankie? Well, he asked for a transfer. His note simply read,
I don't want to know what's in it. I just don't want it to know me.
But the box wasn't done, because someone upstairs noticed it too, and that brought us to an official investigation. So this is week 2 now. The sealed locker 9 was officially flagged for, quote, high priority review by internal operations. The incident caught the attention of Assistant Deputy Regional Director Clarence Boone, who authorized a low-level clearance sweep. Pretty much that's government speak for, we don't know what this is, but it's creeping people out and we don't want the press to find out. So they brought in the Technical Surveillance Countermeasures Unit, TSCM. These are the people who check for bugs and wiretaps and rogue electronics and things like that. And what did they find, you ask? Well, it wasn't electronic, it was energetic. Their report showed that there were no electronic signal, no heat signature, EMF spikes consistent with faulty wiring, but no source found of that faulty wiring, right? Magnetometer disrupted when passed within 3 feet of parcel, and a technician reported auditory hallucination during the inspection, and they described it as a female voice humming. So, the tech who heard a voice? That guy quit the following week, and he filed for disability. He cited
paranoid auditory delusions triggered by classified surveillance materials.
His wife later told a local paper that he refused to have cardboard boxes in their home. Like, he literally was like, nope, no more boxes. He said that the boxes had eyes.
Dude, you have got to have some crazy PTSD to be thinking that the boxes being delivered to your house have eyes.
Yeah, honestly. And definitely lots of trauma-related responses happening every time he has to, go to a grocery store and they're stocking the shelves.
Oh, gosh. He can't go anywhere.
No, poor guy. So 2 days later, after that, 2:11 a.m., surveillance caught the box outside of Locker 9. And it was just sitting there on the floor, minding its own business, I guess. But the thing is, there was no footage of it being removed. The locker showed no forced entry, and no one claimed responsibility. So you know what they did? Security sealed the entire floor. The box was relocated to an undisclosed evidence vault and marked, quote, OES-R05, anomalous postal artifact. It was scheduled for destruction. Just when the paperwork was finalized...
But the lady said...
Don't destroy it, right?
Oh, something like that.
I know. So stay tuned to see what happens. Just when the paperwork was finalized to destroy the package, something changed. A second memo was issued. This one marked with a restricted clearance code. We don't have the memo itself, but the index lists its title as, quote,
reassignment to deep storage. Do not shred. Do not scan.
And just like that, the package disappeared from the chain of custody. There were no records, no photos, and no official explanation.
I wonder if the package itself put that second memo out.
Yeah, it's like, just leave me alone.
So, like the AI nowadays that are trying to stop their creators from destroying them.
Yeah.
Which the next episode we'll talk about AI, so FYI, stay tuned because it's going to be real good.
I know. AI is creepy, exciting, and scary all at once. So some say it was transferred to the DIA, which is the Defense Intelligence Agency. Others claim it was rerouted to an underground facility in Nevada. I guess what facility that is. But wherever it went, it never came back.
Is there an underground facility in Nevada that you know of?
I mean, I was just assuming Area 51.
Oh, you're so smart. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So like I said, it never came back until 1999. That's when a clerk in the General Services Administration logged a request to retrieve an unidentified parcel listed under the same inventory number. But the request? Denied, with the note, quote,
no such object exists in federal records.
So 22 years after it vanished from official custody, the package appeared again. Not in a vault, not in a storage facility, but in the lobby of a post office in Boulder, Colorado.
How did it get to Colorado?
That's a good question. One we may never find the answer to. But now it's October 2001. A postal worker named Camille Dorsey found it on the lobby floor just before sunrise. No shipping label, no stamps, just a simple brown parcel, 6 inches wide, taped tight. She assumed someone had dropped it off late and left it, until she picked it up.
It was warm, way too warm. I thought maybe it had been under a heat lamp or something. But it made this faint sound when I moved it, like a deep thrum. Like it was humming from the inside.
She placed it on a shelf behind the desk. 30 minutes later, the shelf cracked down the middle. When they examined the package, they found a barcode stuck to the bottom. But the barcode wasn't USPS. Guess what? It was FBI inventory stock. Cross-referencing the number pulled up a long deactivated record, OES-R05, item no longer in system. The same label from 1977, the same box, no chain of custody, no delivery path, no explanation for how it arrived at a suburban Colorado post office. The post office shut down for 3 days, which is crazy because post office is usually pretty good with their schedule, right?
Rain or shine, they say. Rain or shine.
Exactly, but apparently mysterious box, done. A quote, federal courier arrived to retrieve the object. No badge was shown and no name was given.
Okay, a federal courier.
Yeah.
That's the Men in Black, baby.
That is indeed. Camille later described the man as, quote, tall, dark coat, didn't blink much. Again, no paper trail, and there was not a follow-up report at all, but the parcel, once again, was gone. And this time, it's never been seen again. Well, at least not officially.
I'm sorry, but the fact that a mystery box just teleports from a 1977 mailroom to a Colorado post office and vibrates with intent? Nope.
Part of me wants to know what's inside it, but like...
what's in the box?
Yeah, I don't really want to know, but also...
No. You do not want to know what's inside it. That's how cursed films start.
Okay. Fair. So we'll just, let it be.
Yes.
All right, guys. So that's all for tonight's deep dive into haunted halls and classified creepers. If your filing cabinet rattles after midnight, now you know who might be knocking.
Mm-hmm. And if the CIA ever sends you a box that hums and smells like brimstone, just return it to Cinder Sugar, preferably via exorcism.
Yeah. And as always, thank you for joining us here at Witchin' and Winin', where we serve up ghost stories with a twist.
And remember, whether it's ghosts, demons, or some shady guy named Agent Carl, we've got wine, wit, and a candle ready to go.
Got a haunted tale of your own? Send it our way. Just maybe not by mailroom demon courier. Email us at witchinandwinin@gmail.com. That's WITCHNANDWINEN@gmail.com.
And y'all, if this episode gave you chill, that's great. But if your wine starts levitating, bless it, spray it with holy water, and run like your mama just caught you sneaking out the window in high school.
Stay spooky, y'all.
That thud on your porch? Totally normal. Probably. Remember, if your package starts whispering, maybe don't open it. Some packages come with free shipping and a free haunting. Warning. Contents may include ghosts, goblins, or a cursed fruit cake.